Hi everybody, I'm so pleased to be introducing Anna today. Anna is a senior psychology major and she's also a newly inducted member of the Adams State College chapter of Psychi, the International Honor Society in Psychology. And Anna is presenting the research that she did in the psychology department's huge rite of passage known as research methods. And some of our students that are enduring it right now are here. It is a regular semester-based class in which students do complete a full research project from conception to presentation. And Anna did such a unique project looking at a very important student demographic that we're pleased that she was willing to present here. She's also a finalist for the Rocky Mountain Psychological Association Student Paper Award, so she'll be presenting this again next week in Denver. So thank you guys for joining us this morning, and take it away.
Hello, my name is Chavez, and the title of my presentation is Student Parents' Personal and Academic Factors of College Success. So the great thing about being in college in this day and age is that there aren't the same stigmas and stereotypes there were 100 years ago. Anybody with the drive and motivation to achieve a higher education degree can do so. So, however, there are certain people, certain students that go into this role with much more ease than others. And this brings me to my main population. So 12 to 23% of student mothers become pregnant in their college experience, and only 46% of these will continue their education. This is important because women are now the majority gender on campuses across the nation, and the highest rate of unplanned pregnancies take place in the traditionally aged college students. So my dependent variables in the study are intrinsic motivation, which comes from within the self. It's factors such as curiosity, desire to learn, other things such as wanting to better yourself and your self-concept. And extrinsic motivation comes from outside of the self, and these are things like rewards. Rewards can be a good grade, they could be money. Other extrinsic motivators are things such as praise and recognition by others. Self-esteem is one's own personal evaluation of their self-worth, and self-efficacy is how confident you are that you can succeed in a given task. My last thing I looked at was perceived social support, which is anything from support given by family and friends to things that happen in the academic world that make it easier for you to stay in school. So when it comes to student parents, there are a lot of things that are similar in traditional students as there are in student parents. And one thing is stress. And it was found that when academic commitment was high, stress also increased. And this was because students felt like they were identifying too much with their schoolwork and they were lagging in other parts of their life. This is especially relevant to mothers because as they move from college being a family enhancement tool to being for personal development, they tend to have extreme amounts of stress because they feel like those roles are conflicting one another. And then as this tension between the roles increases, their stress increases. And there's many things that have been done to try to improve this. And one research done by Gonchar showed that when students had on-campus childcare, it increased their experience, which decreased the stress. And the age of the children is also important because the younger they were, the more stress the mothers had, because younger children are they take more time, they take more energy, and it takes away from what you can do at school. And also when student mothers failed, they thought it as their own fault, even if it was something that was out of their control. They personalized it, which then hurts your self-esteem and self-efficacy. So there are good things about being a student parent. When the mother identified as being a positive role model, her self-efficacy increased. And this is important because low self-esteem correlates with higher amounts of stress. And also when her motivation, both intrinsic and extrinsic, increased, she had a positive educational correlation to her child's education. So she helped them more, she was more involved, she was more positive towards them doing well in school. And then when she moved from external motivators to intrinsic motivation, it increased her identification as a student which then had a positive correlation on her child's education again. And this is helping out not only the mother, but the child, because when children have parents who are more involved, they do well in school, and they have the same values that their parents do. So social support was another thing that was looked at, and it was found that encouragement and assurance increased self-esteem, which then increased self-efficacy, and higher amounts of social support also correlated with increased confidence, satisfaction in life, which then increased self-efficacy. And self-esteem, when increased self-concept, which then increased positive attitude. So my research questions were, are there different levels of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, self-efficacy, and self-esteem between parents and non-parents? And I used those skills, the MSLQ, the GSE, and the Rosenberg to measure these. And I also wanted to see if there was differences in predictors of success, such as perceived social support and GPA. So all of these skills were comprised into one questionnaire, and then the predictors as well. And students were recruited in classrooms, they were recruited word of mouth, and I also found larger samples of parents by going door to door at the on-campus housing. So this is a breakdown of my demographics. It shows them by class level and parents versus non-parents. I have 28 parents, 20 of them were female, 7 were male, and I had 104 non-parents. 62 were female and 42 were male. And I had the majority was freshmen because those tend to be in the classrooms that are more willing to let you do research method stuff. And these are my results. A 2x2 MANOVA was run, and there was a main effect for gender on extrinsic motivation and self-efficacy, and also a main effect for parenting status on intrinsic motivation. There was no significance in any of the tests for self-esteem. So in order to see where significance was taking place, post-hoc t-tests were done, and it supported the extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, but did not support self-efficacy. So this is a visual of the findings showing that parents have higher levels of intrinsic motivation versus non-parents, and females had higher levels of extrinsic motivation compared to males. So parents are being motivated internally, and females are being more motivated externally. And this is a breakdown of social support and GPA. Findings were not significant, but they were still interesting because parents had lower perceived social support compared to non-parents, and they also had a lower GPA, which was self-reported. So in order to see if significance was taking place due to the differences or due to the sample size, additional analyses were run, and instead of using all of them, we just draw 21 female parents. So we used the female parents, or there's 21. And we did 21 random non-females, or non-parent females, and then 21 non-parent males. And this is a breakdown of that. And interestingly enough, it shows that when we did it this way, female parents reported the highest GPA, which was different than before, but that's interesting. And so in order to see what was taking place, a one-way ANOVA was done for each dependent variable, and it was found significant that female parents outscored non-male parents in intrinsic motivation. This is not significant between the female populations of non-parents and parents. However, females tended to score higher on intrinsic motivation than males in general. So what this means is that college parents are being motivated more internally than non-college or non-parent students. And the drive to success is coming from within them. They want to be there because they like to learn. There's different cognitions taking place between those that have children and those that don't. And then also I reported on the higher extrinsic done before the match sample tests were run, which signified that rewards, praise, and recognition were more aspiring to women than men. Limitations were my small sample of parents. I had time limitations too because research methods is only 16 weeks long. Future research needs to look at larger samples of parents and look at the other factors of success which are affecting them. So perceived social support was one thing, and also having access to on-campus childcare. Basically, intrinsically motivated students, they perform better longer because they're driven by something inside of them rather than the desire to get a good grade or receive praise. And these students need to be kept in academia because they are valuable to the system and valuable to future employers. Thank you for your time.